London Bridge is one of the most famous crossings in the world, but the bridge we see today is only the latest in a very long line of bridges that have stood on this site. The story begins in Roman London. Soon after the Romans founded the city of Londinium, they built the first known bridge across the River Thames here. That crossing helped turn London into a major settlement, linking the north and south banks and connecting trade routes across Roman Britain. When Roman rule ended, the bridge fell into ruin, but the crossing remained too important to lose forever. Over the following centuries, new wooden bridges were built and rebuilt. Fires, attacks, storms, and time itself repeatedly damaged them, yet London always needed a bridge here. By the late 12th century, a much more ambitious structure was planned. In 1176, work began on a great new stone bridge under the supervision of Peter of Colechurch. It took more than 30 years to complete, and by 1209 London had a bridge unlike any it had seen before. This medieval old London Bridge was not just a crossing. It was almost a small town in its own right. It stretched for over 900 feet and stood on 19 arches. A chapel dedicated to St. Thomas Becket rose from the middle of the bridge. Shops and houses lined both sides, and for centuries people actually lived and worked on the bridge itself. At times there were dozens of buildings crowded along it, some rising several stories high above the river. It must have been an extraordinary sight. A busy street suspended over the Thames, packed with traders, families, and traffic. But the bridge was also dangerous. The narrow arches and solid piers created fierce water currents below. Boatmen spoke of shooting the bridge if they dared try to pass underneath. Some made it through. Others did not. Old London Bridge also played a darker role in the city's history. At the southern gate, the severed heads of executed traitors were sometimes displayed on spikes as a warning to all who entered the city. For more than 600 years, this bridge was one of London's defining landmarks. It survived fires, floods, and constant wear. But by the 18th and early 19th centuries, it had become too narrow and too crowded for a growing modern city. A replacement was needed. In the 1820s, engineer John Rennie designed a new stone bridge just west of the old one. It opened in 1831, and the medieval bridge was then demolished. This new London Bridge had broad granite arches and a much cleaner, more open design, better suited to the traffic of the 19th century. That bridge stood for well over a century. But by the 20th century, even it began to struggle. The weight of modern traffic caused problems, and eventually it too had to be replaced. In one of the strangest twists in British architectural history, Rennie's 19th-century London Bridge was sold in the 1960s to an American businessman and rebuilt in Arizona, where it still stands today. The current London Bridge opened in 1973. It is a modern concrete and steel structure, simpler in appearance than the bridges before it, but still carrying huge numbers of vehicles and pedestrians every day. So when people say London Bridge, they are really talking about almost 2,000 years of history. Roman Bridge, Medieval Bridge, Victorian Bridge, Modern Bridge. Different structures, different centuries, but always the same vital crossing. Because long before Tower Bridge became the postcard icon, London Bridge was the crossing that helped create London itself.